Williams from Salary Transparent Street. We're in Arizona today. Let's go ask some people what they do and how much they make.
So I'm a cardiac anesthesiologist.
How much do you make?
Well, it depends on the year. Sometimes it's around like 200, sometimes it's around like 700.
What makes the difference between 200 and 700?
It's how much I work.
How is your work-life balance?
I'm very lucky. I've got 4 kids. They're all older now. I've never missed anything of any importance with any of them as they were growing up. I'm one of the people that really cares about that.
How has your experience been in your field?
I'm super happy and I feel very lucky.
How do you get into this?
So after college, went to medical school and then did 4 years of residency
Resident.
in anesthesia. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, what kind of doctor I wanted to be. And then people told me, hey, a lot of people are going into this because it's got a nice work-life balance, depending on how you want to play it. So if you're like in a really big group, I'm in a very big group, that allows me and other people in the group to have more flexibility. Whereas if you're like a solo practitioner, it'd be really hard to do that.
What are the pros and cons of your job in general?
The pros are I get a lot of job satisfaction from taking
Right.
care of people and what I do. And the cons are probably, it can be stressful, but I'm very lucky in the fact that I usually am more stressed with my kids not doing their homework than I am with what's going on at work.
Stress. What career advice would you share in general?
I think the mistake that a lot of people make is they do something because they feel they have to, and they're not happy and they're miserable, and that's not the way to be.
I'm the senior ops manager for a concert venue in Phoenix.
Okay, what about you?
I'm just a plumber. Yep.
Not just a plumber, you're a plumber. How much do you make?
Like around 65, 70K a year.
I'm around 75K a year.
How long have you been doing it total?
About 3 years now, if you count COVID.
About 3 years.
What has your experience been so far? Like, what are the pros and cons of your job?
It's been great. I mean, it's my dream job. I get to put on shows like this, so I love it. The cons, I guess, is I don't get every weekend off, but I'm making other memories for people, so it makes up for it.
Some pros are I'm a commission-based worker, so I make what I sell. I get really good work-life balance. Some cons are that I am a commission-based worker, so if I'm not getting good work, I'm not getting paid well.
What pieces of advice would you share with anyone who's interested in your industry or just in general what you've learned?
I would say definitely apply yourself. It's never too early to start getting your foot in the door, and I just think that that's the biggest thing is experience is everything, so just trying to intern or start somewhere.
You don't need a college degree to make some decent money, if you're willing to work a little bit, the trades definitely have a lot of opportunities.
I'm a chef and I own my own restaurants.
How long have you been doing it?
My whole entire life.
What do you cook?
I do pizza. I've done a lot of things, but pizza's my thing, my jam.
How much are you able to take home?
Like 60K.
Right.
Business is bringing good money, but I also take care of my staff. So
Yeah.
I make sure they make, if not as much, more than me.
I feel like 50 to 60K, you're fairly paid. What would you like to make?
Realistically, I mean like a cool 100K.
What are the pros?
You get to travel and do cool shit, make pizzas, hang out with your homies and listen to music.
What career advice would you share anyone who's interested in doing what you do?
Do it for a passion, don't do it for the money. Along with any job, don't do something that sucks.
I am a site leader.
I am a health insurance claims analyst.
If you could describe what you do in one sentence, what would you say?
I am concerned with employee experience and making sure that we attract the best talent and keep them happy once they join our company.
Processing health insurance claims submitted for members.
How much do you make doing what you do?
$190,000 a year.
$55,000 a year.
How long have you been doing it total?
This new job, 6 months. In my industry, I have over 25 years of experience.
Great.
I've been at my job for a year and a half, and since 2009, so it's at 14 years.
Do you feel fairly compensated for what you do?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
What are the pros and cons in general?
Pros are I get to do a lot of cool things to help other people. Cons are probably dealing with budget issues.
The hours that I work that I don't have to deal with telephone calls at all are definitely my pros, and cons, just that it can be difficult at times.
What career advice would you share to new graduates or just in general with what you've learned over the years?
I would say the best advice I could give is always try and work to the job ahead of yours, not the job that you're in.
To always try to learn as much as possible from people around you, as much as you can.
I run a cocktail program at a bar.
And I work as a freelance sports broadcaster assistant.
How much do you guys make doing what you do?
65 a year.
Do you feel fairly compensated?
I mean, it is enough for my lifestyle and my needs, so it could be more always, but 65 is, I should say, comfortable enough.
What about you?
So being a freelancer is weird because I have multiple different employers, and so like the average I get paid at like the most job I get is like 30 an hour. I would say I'm fairly compensated for that. It is kind of like like being a broadcast assistant. It is kind of like a specialized skill that I went to school for. So I would say it's compensated fairly based on the degree that I got. It's a sports broadcasting degree.
Did you get a degree?
I did, yeah. So when I moved out to Arizona, I worked for a big radio station. My degree was in digital audio production, but that didn't make me enough. So I had to pick up a second job, and that second job quickly transitioned to the job that I'm at for the last 4 years.
Did y'all graduate with any student loan debt?
I graduated with 38.
Not bad.
The last thing I checked, I think I'm at like 27.
So I was out of state, so I'm a little more. I think right now I'm at 76 owed, and I think I borrowed about 80. So it's been interest like last year or so has been rough on it.
Do y'all feel like your degree was necessary to get to where you wanted to be, or would you do things different if you could do it again?
If I stayed where I was in the radio station, just kind of bit the bullet, it would have been. But where I am now, definitely not. Yeah, no, not at all.
What about you?
Being almost 4 years out of school now, I would say my degree hasn't paid for itself yet, but it probably will just based on like the opportunities that I've been getting so far. So not yet, but every time I keep looking at that student loan number, I'm like, eventually it will pay for itself, yeah.
What advice would you share with anyone who's interested in doing what you do, or just what have you learned in general that you would want to share?
If you're interested in running a cocktail program at a bar, go out and drink a lot of cocktails and see what you like, see what people like, see what you don't like.
I would say definitely if you're into shooting sports, but if you're into shooting anything, photography, video, just go out and bring a camera and try it yourself. There's a lot of stuff you have to do for free and kind of meeting people and getting in the door, but like doing that initial free work really helps in building your experience.
I am a product manager. I work on Azure.
I'm a seat design engineer at
How much do y'all make doing what you do?
My base salary is $135, and I get up to 20% in bonuses.
my take-home salary with adjustments would be around $94,000 a year.
Do you both feel fairly compensated for what you do?
I do.
Absolutely. In Michigan, it's a different economy than it is here.
I was going to ask, are y'all from Arizona or a different state?
Detroit.
How is cost of living over there? Has it increased recently? What kind of things are you seeing?
Things are increasing, but I think they're increasing the same way they have everywhere. Feels a little unfair in a way because it feels like everybody looked at the shortages like we need to increase prices, but then it was, we're just going to keep them there. It still feels like even though like solidly in the middle class, it feels like it's still trying to slide beneath you.
What are the pros and cons of your job?
I love that technology is always changing. It's always new and interesting and exciting, and so there's always something new and cool to
And
learn.
you're
And I get to work from home.
Got a 12-hour time difference between Detroit and Korea. And the thing is, before the pandemic, there was no remote anything. I couldn't get my email at home. So I had to go into the office just to even see email. And working a 9-hour day still put you in a negative limelight with your Korean counterparts. They look at that as, oh, you're coming in at 7 and leaving at 5, that you're not staying late enough. I want to have a life. I'm sorry. I want to go home and do something.
How is your work-life balance overall?
It's gotten a lot better since the pandemic. It was a forced adaptation.
It's pretty great. I have the occasional evening meetings, but otherwise I think they're really respectful of my personal time, and I love it.
I'm a special ed teacher.
How much do you make?
Well, I've been doing it for a long time. I make about $60,000.
How long have you been doing it?
This is year 28 for me.
How did you get into your position?
I always knew I was going to be a teacher, but my brother was in special education, so
Nice,
I went to
that's
that area of education because of him.
What career advice would you share with maybe new graduates or just what you've learned in general over the years?
I think most of the country knows that teachers are kind of underpaid, but my advice would be do it because you love to do it. And if you love to do it, then you'll find a way to make that financial piece work for you and your family.
What's your favorite thing about being a teacher?
Well, middle schoolers are really fun. They say the most interesting things, so no day is ever boring.
What are the pros and cons in general?
Pros, the hours are like pretty good hours, stay pretty similar every day. Obviously, we have good breaks, in the summer and stuff like that. Cons are we're always underfunded and the class sizes are huge and getting bigger, and I think we're getting a current wave of mental health issues and behavior issues with kids that are kind of a byproduct of COVID, and that might take a while to recover from.
What do you think is in the future for kids? Like, what ways can teachers help to improve mental health and illnesses with kids?
Honestly, a lot of people wouldn't like this opinion, but I think focusing less on the academics and just more on who the kids are, and the academics will come. And you just let them know that you care about them every day, then they'll work for you and they'll want to do better and get that academic stuff done.
What were you doing before you got laid off?
I was working at Tesla as an auto technician. Before Tesla, I was in music. I was working at a 5-star studio out in Philadelphia. Things got boring, so I just left.
How much were you making doing that?
I was making $22 an hour at Tesla, but for the music, it was off and on. Because it was like more so like freelance work, depending on who you got in the studio or who you worked with and everything.
Yeah. Why'd you get laid off?
The economy. I guess there's a lot of things going on in the economy, and I guess I just made the list.
How do you feel about it?
It opens up new opportunities. I feel as though that me, myself, I'm kind of like a nomad. I move around different places. I'm not from Arizona. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I've lived in a lot of different areas, and I've been around a lot of different environments and everything. I truly believe that this is something that happened, then there's going to be gold waiting at the end of this tunnel.
What are some of your goals in the next few years?
I am working on a music label. If not that, looking into real estate, probably become a loan officer or something.
What career advice would you share with others who may be also going through a layoff?
I'd never had like auto technician experience, but I'm smart. So I went for it and I got the job at Tesla. I worked with people who I've worked with cars like over 10 years.
How'd you learn?
I just paid attention. A lot of people don't know how to deal with other people, but it's all just understanding perspective. You just have to understand where they're coming from.
What do you do for a living?
I manage a brewery.
New one. How much do you make doing that?
Not enough. Roughly around 67,000 or so.
Do you like what you do?
I do. I work because I have to, but I wouldn't unless I needed to.
How long have you been doing it?
20 years.
How'd you get into it?
By accident. Just enjoyed beer, and I always enjoyed good beer, and got an offer one day and wasn't doing anything else at the time, so took that and then just kept on going.
What career advice would you share with new graduates or just what you've learned in general?
Don't grow up.
I'm a stay-at-home mom with 4 kids, and sometimes as a college student, sometimes not.
What are you studying?
History.
What do you hope to do with that?
No idea. No clue.
Just having fun. I love it. Were you always a stay-at-home mom? Did you have a job before?
Yeah, so I got married super young. I got married when I was 19, had my first kid when I was 21, so have been a stay-at-home mom since then. Before that, I worked at Blockbuster just to age myself.
Oh no, we miss it.
I loved Blockbuster.
Do you remember how much you made?
$7.45 an hour.
Do you like what you do, being a stay-at-home mom?
I love being a mom. My kids are getting older now, and it's awesome to see their personalities really come through and all the fun that we're having. We're from Seattle, and right now we're in Tempe, Arizona, so it's awesome.
What pieces of advice would you share with your kids about careers once they get there, or just in general? What have you learned?
Figure out what you love and do it. See how you can make that happen. I love being a mom, so I'm a mom. When I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I kind of still don't. So it wouldn't have made sense for me to get a degree in like business when I don't want to be in a business. So just figure out what you love, try and work your career around that. That's the main goal we're going for with them.
I'm a Salesforce Administrator.
How much do you make?
About $70,000 a year.
Do you feel fairly compensated?
Tiny bit under, but I'm getting there.
How long have you been doing it total?
About a year and a half.
Do you like it?
I do. It's really challenging.
What are the pros and cons?
You learn something every day, a little bit of coding, a little bit of troubleshooting. It's a little bit different every day.
How did you get into this? Like, what kind of experience do you need?
I was doing admin work for a different company, and then came over to this company to do analyst work and work my way up.
What pieces of advice would you share with new grads or just what you've learned in general?
Find something you like to do and just do it.